Welcome, take a slow, deep breath and allow yourself to drift gently, far away from the sounds and lights of your present world. Let your body grow still. Let your thoughts soften and quiet. Tonight, we'll travel but not by road or sea or rail. Tonight, we ride the wind across vast, open grassland, under skies so wide they seem to curve around the edges of the earth. We're going to the steppe, to a time when no maps could contain the horizon, and no city walls could stop the riders who moved like shadows across the land. We are entering the world of the Mongols, but not through the thundering hooves of war or the clash of conquest. No, we will begin with the quieter rhythm of daily life, the dust, the wind, the simple tasks that built an empire from the ground up. In this journey, you'll meet a young boy barefoot, brave, and a little tired. You'll meet a forgotten granddaughter of a conqueror whose name has nearly slipped from memory. You'll listen to secrets from a long-hidden menu, and you'll enter the silk-lined yurt of a noblewoman who pulled strings behind embroidered curtains. But for now, let's go back, before empire, before glory, back to the saddle, back to the boy. 7 years old, maybe 8. Your hands are rough from rope. Your hair smells of wind, leather, and the faint sourness of fermented milk. You are a Mongol boy, and today, like every day, you ride. You've known horses longer than you've known words. Your legs are short but strong, used to clinging tight to the sides of a shaggy Mongol pony. There's no saddle, no reins, even just a thick leather loop wrapped around the horse's neck, and the quiet understanding between you and the animal. Your mornings begin before the sun has fully risen. The air is sharp and cold. It bites at your ears, nips at your fingers. Outside the family yurt, dew clings to the grass like tiny stars. Your father is already awake. Your mother, too, pouring boiled water over last night's mare's milk, stirring it with a carved wooden spoon. You drink slowly, even though it's sour. It warms your belly, and you know it will be your only true meal until the sun falls again. Today, your task is to round up the herd. Your family's ponies graze across several hills, their silhouettes like scattered shadows. You whistle softly. The wind responds. You mount your smallest horse. Not your best one. Not yet. That one is for ceremony, or perhaps for war, someday. This one knows the job. Together, you trot, then gallop, weaving across the hills like thread through cloth. The sky above you is wide, pale blue, no trees, no road, just grass, wind, and dust. You shout, and the ponies respond. They know your voice. Later, you return to camp. You rub the dust from your face with a wool sleeve. You tend to the hooves. You brush burrs from the manes. When the sun reaches its peak, you sit with the older boys. Some are sharpening arrows. Others are practicing with slings. You hand it a bow, light, curved, powerful. You pull the strings slowly. Your arms tremble a little, but no one mocks you. Practice is constant. A good horseboy becomes a great archer. A great archer becomes a warrior. A warrior becomes, well, perhaps nothing more than ash on a faraway plain, but perhaps something more. And drink more of the milk that never quite stops tasting strange. When there's meat, you eat it boiled. When there isn't, you chew dried curds, break hard bread. At night, your tasks aren't over. You gather dried dung to feed the fire. It burns slow and smells earthy. Inside the yurt, the heat rises slowly, thickening the air with warmth and wool. You clean your arrows with care, not with soap or cloth, but with your own teeth, scraping the dirt from the wooden shafts, checking the feathers, running your fingers along the points carefully. Outside, the stars begin to appear. They don't twinkle like in the cities. Here, they are sharp, clear, eternal. Your grandmother points out one that guides travelers, another that guards warriors. You listen, you remember, then, at last, you sleep. Your blanket is thick felt. The yurt creaks slightly in the wind. You are a boy, but you are already part of something ancient, something wide as the steppe itself, a rhythm of motion, loyalty, duty, and silence. And tomorrow, again, you ride. History remembers Genghis Khan. It remembers the thunder of hooves across Asia, the banners of conquest, and the cities that trembled under his gaze. But history often forgets those who lived in the shadows of giants, especially the women, especially when their names were never carved in stone, only whispered in scrolls and remembered in the folds of folklore. Tonight, we meet one such figure. Her name was Kutulun, or perhaps Kutul, or maybe something else entirely. Records disagree, but one thing remains certain. She was Genghis Khan's descendant, and her life carved a quiet path through the most turbulent years of empire. Imagine her, not as a girl in silks, but as a figure on horseback. She was born into a world already vast, already complicated. The Mongol Empire was splintering into factions vied for influence. Even blood ties were strained. Kutulun was the daughter of a powerful warlord, Kaidu, who ruled the Central Asian steppes. He opposed the Yuan dynasty in China, ruled, ironically, by another branch of Genghis's own family, so her life was already tangled, politically, geographically, and personally. But she did not shrink into the shadows. She trained as a rider. She wrestled with the men, not metaphorically, but literally. In fact, her wrestling became legend. It said she declared she would only marry the men who could defeat her in a match. One by one, noble suitors approached, and one by one, she threw them to the ground. Some say she defeated 10. Others say, some claim she collected their horses as trophies. A growing herd of rejected husbands. It may be myth, it may not, but it tells us something important. Her presence was remembered, and not just for strength. She rode beside her father in battle, advised him in strategy, led troops in the field. She wasn't a token. She was active, present, feared, respected, and perhaps resent. Some sources suggest her male relatives disliked her influence. Others suggest her brothers saw her as a rival. But her father, he named her as his successor. That, too, is disputed. But even the suggestion tells a story. In the world of the Mongol elite, where sons and nephews fought over banners, and Kaidu may have seen in her not just a daughter, but a leader. Still, fate did not allow her to rule. After her father's death, her star faded, power shifted, enemies multiplied, and her story began to blur. Unlike her cousin Kublai Khan, she left behind no court. Unlike her great ancestor, she had no empire to bear her name. But fragments remain. A Persian historian writes of her with respect. A European traveler hears rumors of a warrior princess who could ride better than any man, and centuries later, the tale would echo into the West as inspiration for the character of a fictional princess who refused all suitors. That version is a pale shadow, but the real woman, whoever she truly was, rides quietly across history. A ghost in armor, a diplomat in a tent, a granddaughter of empire, lost between pages. So, as the night deepens, picture her not as a fading legend, but as a lone figure on the steppes, cloak fluttering in the wind, eyes sharp, scanning the horizon, not remembered by name, but not forgotten either. Not all histories are meant to be some are whispered, kept in family circles, hidden beneath scrolls, read by candlelight, and never meant for foreign eyes. One of those histories is known simply as the Secret History of the Mongols, written not in Chinese, not in Persian, but in the Mongol tongue. This document is one of the few that tells the story of Genghis Khan, not from the outside looking in, but from within his world. And unlike the records of frightened cities or admiring this history is personal, soft-spoken, and sometimes strange. Let's travel back once more. It is the year 1227. Genghis Khan has died, though few outside the inner court know it yet. His body is hidden, his grave a secret. Even today, no one is quite sure where he lies, but the silence that followed his death gave birth to a record. Scholars believe the secret history was written soon after. Its audience was internal, Mongol nobility and trusted advisors. It wasn't meant to impress the outside world. It was meant to remember. And what it remembers is unexpected. It does not begin with a triumph. It begins with a child born clutching a blood clot in his fist. An omen, they say. His father is poisoned. His family abandoned. They scavenge for food, dig roots from frozen earth, and watch other clans pass them by. This is not a story of a boy destined for greatness. It is the story of a boy who suffered, who feared, who survived. The text is filled with raw, human moments. Temujin kills his half-brother in a quarrel. He is captured and wears a wooden yoke. He escapes, barefoot, across the frozen steppe. Later, as he gains allies, the language shifts. We hear of vows made over horse blood, of bonds stronger than family, and betrayals that cut deeper than wounds. His friend and blood brother Jamuka turns against him. They wage war, and though Temujin wins, he spares his enemy's life, only to see the cycle of rivalry continue. The writing is rich with metaphor. Mountains are iron walls, warriors are falcons with silver claws. Victory is a saddle that never slips, and throughout it all, the tone remains steady, calm, almost reverent, but never exaggerated. This is not a tale of invincibility. It is a tale of struggle, unity, fear, belief. Perhaps the most striking element is silence. When Genghis Khan finally dies, the passage is brief. No grand speeches, no glowing tributes, only a quiet shift, a pause, as if even the writers could not quite grasp the loss. Over the centuries, the secret history disappears. It survives only because Chinese scholars, intrigued by Mongol rule, transcribed it using Chinese characters to preserve the Mongolian sounds. For years, it was misunderstood, misread. It wasn't until the 20th century that it was fully translated and studied. Now, we read it not just as a historical document, but as a voice, a quiet, uncertain, human voice from the heart of empire. It tells us that even the greatest conqueror in history began as a boy without food, that loyalty mattered more than blood, and that the winds of the steppe, so wide and so endless, could carry both fear, and memory. So tonight, let that wind carry you to let it whisper of oaths and winters, of brothers and betrayals, and of a secret finally told. Empires are often remembered by their armies, their banners, their battles, but sometimes real power whispers from within felt walls, not at the tip of a spear, but behind a curtain, beside a fire, within a yurt. In the heart of the Mongol Empire, where Khans ruled from horseback and arrows sang across battlefields, there existed another kind of strength, quiet, observant, rooted in tradition and subtlety. Tonight, we step not into a throne room or war tent, but into the private world of a Mongol noblewoman. The yurt is round, warm, and breathing. It rises from the steppe like a domed hill, its walls thick with layered felt, its roof ringed with smoke-stained lattice. Unlike the humble yurts of herders, this one is larger, heavier. The central pole is carved, its base wrapped in silk. Banners flutter gently outside, her clan's symbol hand-stitched in crimson thread. Inside, the air is fragrant with burned juniper and sweet milk tea. The fire in the center glows low, not too bright. She prefers it that way. She is not young, but not old. Her hair is neatly braided and coiled, held by pins of bone and jade. Her robe is deep blue, lined with fox fur. At her belt, small, silver tools, thread scissors, needle cases, keys to chests. She sits on a folded cushion. A servant pours tea from a carved wooden pot. The tea is salty, mixed with butter, thick and nourishing. In this quiet space, she writes, not with a brush or pen, but with words passed aloud. She speaks, and a trusted attendant records her thoughts on birch bark or scraps of silk. Letters to sons at war, instructions for the distribution of herd animals, a list of gifts for the upcoming marriage feast of her niece. She does not rule by title, but she is consulted. Always, even the Khan, her cousin, or perhaps her brother, sends messengers to ask for her advice. Her memory holds the names of 100 families. She knows who married whom, who betrayed a vow, who must be forgiven. In the corner of the yurt, a small shrine, not a god, but a spirit. Ancestral tablets, small carved stones, burnt offerings, dried herbs. She kneels before them at dusk, pressing her forehead to the ground, murmuring in a voice, low and ancient. Outside, warriors sharpen blades, horses are fed, messengers ride. But here, inside this warm space, there is only patience, rhythm, memory, She recalls the names of the grasslands where her father once hunted. She sings lullabies learned from her grandmother in a dialect no longer spoken beyond these hills. At night, the yurt creaks gently in the wind. The coals glow red. She removes her earrings, one by one, brushes her hair, whispers a final instruction to the girl at her side, a young attendant, barely more than a child, and then she sleeps. Not as a queen, not as a commander, but as a living thread in the fabric of a vast, drifting world. So tonight, as you rest, imagine yourself within that yurt, soft felt beneath your hands, the scent of cedar smoke in the air, the steady voice of a woman who never led an army, but held an empire's memory in her silence.